Camera is rolling. Whenever you're ready.
My name is Irene. I'm from Queens, New York. I am a proud dog mom of my 12-year-old Yorkie Poo, Prince William. My hobbies include writing songs, writing poems, creating music, and playing with my fur baby. Those are the main things I love to do. I adopted Prince William in August of 2013, and he is everything to me. At the time that I adopted him, I was experiencing depression. I had lost my grandmother Valentine's Day of 2013, and before she passed away, she wanted a dog so bad. So I went on a whim. I adopted my baby at 3 months old, and he's been with me ever since. He is my emotional support animal, but I call him my baby because that's what he is to me, my absolute baby. I don't have children, and he is the closest thing I've ever had to a child. And when I bring him to the house, he brings so much joy to my mom and myself and just new life. And every time I'm with him, I feel like that. I feel happy with him, I feel calm, and I feel like he gives me hope when there is none. I graduated from Queens College with a BA in English and Journalism in 2008. At that time, I was able to do an internship with Sony BMG, which was amazing. And I kind of sort of dabbled into the idea of getting into the music industry, but I decided to venture into other things. So once I graduated, I went into early childhood education. I started as a teacher's aide, and 7 years later, when I left, I was an assistant teacher. After that, I went to work in the airport for a couple of years. At that time, I was affiliated with 32BJ SEIU Union, and I became a bargaining committee member, a union leader, and I started to think I think I like advocating for people and advocating for the rights of the underdogs. And the last job that I had was in 2019, I became a care manager for the intellectual and developmentally disabled, which I absolutely loved. Unfortunately, in March of 2021, I sustained a really bad spine injury, and we learned through the MRIs that I had multiple sclerosis, and that by injuring my spine, I exacerbated it. I was constantly going through relapsing multiple sclerosis. It put me out of work, and it just changed so much. I have to now walk with a cane and or a rollator, or my gait could be off, it can be unsteady, and I can fall. So it changed a lot. By not being able to work, it put me in a position where I had to rely on public assistance, and not being able to pay rent put me in a position where I became homeless. I've lived in the same home all of my life up until February of 2025. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to pay rent at home, and I was having family issues. My doctor suggested that I left home and seek refuge in a shelter. And I took her advice, and in 2 weeks, I became homeless. Right before I became homeless, I went to Animal Care Centers of New York. I met an amazing woman named Elizabeth, and I asked if ACC&Y would be able to take my fur baby in until I figured out the whole homeless experience. She told me that if I was to bring him in, then I'd be permanently surrendering my baby. She was able to advise me to get an emotional support letter from my psychiatrist, which I was able to do. And she was able to print out his dog license and a tag for me. And I went into the homeless shelter with all of the documentations that I needed. However, I needed him placed with someone in the meantime. So the first night that I was homeless, I took him to my aunt's place. She welcomed him with open arms, and I left him there. My heart just broke in 1,000 pieces. Unfortunately, my aunt worked 2 jobs Monday through Friday, and she really couldn't spend the time that she wanted to with him. He ended up being crated most days for the next 2 months of his life. While she was away working, one of her neighbors complained that my baby barked and cried all day, so she needed me to rehome him. She didn't understand that it was most likely separation anxiety. He just missed me. And I remember my very last time visiting him, he just looked exhausted. He looked tired. And the strange thing was, the 2 months that I was away from him, I was tired, I was exhausted, and the one thing that I really needed, I wasn't able to have with me, which was him.
So was there ever a moment where you thought you would have to give Prince up?
Yeah. There were a few times where I thought that I was going to lose my baby. And I absolutely could not fathom not having Prince with me. I just couldn't. And I even considered living on the street with him as opposed to not being able to live in a shelter with my baby.
I'm so glad that's not the way it turned out.
Me too. When I went into the shelter, I had all of my paperwork with me. However, the social worker that I was dealing with, she felt that I was apprehensive and she didn't process the paperwork. So Shamila from Animal Care Centers of New York was able to process the paperwork for me.
My name is Sharmila Calhoun. I'm the Special Case Advocate for New York City Animal Care Center. I'm basically like a crisis animal social worker, and I'm able to assist any cases or owners coming in that are in crisis and are looking to be reunited with their animal. I started in social services field, and in 2022, I found a kitten in the backyard. He was maybe 3 days old, and I was bottle feeding him in the night, and my daughter was taking care of him in the day. And I saw this job, and I interviewed for the position through Zoom, and I was bottle feeding the kitten. And I think it helped me to land the job. You know, that little gray tabby really defined my future. I received Miss Irene's case from our Manhattan Care Center. She went in there asking for assistance. I understood what the auntie could not care for the dog anymore. So I had to make sure that I was able to, move fast on her case. I was able to step in and submit the paperwork for her. She had a strong ESA letter, which worked for her when submitting to the Disability Affairs Medical Review Board. There was strong proof that her ESA dog was prescribed by her doctor. I think that's what the world needs to understand. It's not just a service animal. Service animals are trained to do a certain task, but these ESA animals are there to support the owner emotionally. A lot of our clients are suffering from medical, mental health, and physical disabilities, and they rely on their animals to get them through the day, to help them get up in the morning, to help them face their challenges and dealing with their symptoms of their disability.
Prince actually was the reason why I got out of bed many days. He motivated me to get up every day, to get out of bed, to feed him, to walk him, to take him outside. So many days I needed that, and he provided that type of support for me. So I want to thank you again. Your work meant so much to me. And thanks to you, when I did come into the shelter, ACC had a nice little pink stroller for me the day before he came in and 4 bags of dog food. And so I had the tools that I needed physically, but I also had that emotional support from you. And you helped build my confidence when I had none. And I really appreciate that as well.
You were welcome.
Thank you.
So how has it been in terms of your seeking permanent housing?
So it was a rough journey, but I was able to move out. I'm in a supportive apartment now, and Prince and I have adjusted pretty well. We've been there for about 4 months now. I'm really happy there, and my hope is that as long as all goes well, I'll be able to move out of there and into a permanent home within the next couple of years.
I'm just happy to see there's so much progress and you're moving in the right direction.
And I appreciate that so much because he's been not just my support, but other people's support as well. So many people in the shelter had to surrender their fur babies.
Yes.
And there were times where they would just come up to him and pet him, and they would tell me that he's also their emotional support. And that's because I was able to have him there. It's very important for emergency shelters and permanent housing to support people having their pets with them, because these are not just our animals. These are our family members. These are our emotional support systems. And for many of us, we absolutely need them. And if less people had to separate from their fur babies, and more people were able to bring them into the shelter, we would have people that are less stressed, less anxious, less depressed, and happier people that will have support so that when they're dealing with these hardships, it'll make it a little bit easier to journey through life because they have their support by their side. This is my baby.
Oh, there he is. He's ready for his moment. You ready for your close-up, Prince?
I love that head. So cute.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
My goodness. They was calling him, what's that actor name? I had this one friend and she would I can't think of his name. I don't know if it's Matt Damon and Patrick Swayze. And she'd say, look at him, he has Patrick Swayze here.